Hello, welcome to this introduction to my latest cut-up book, which is Asgardian Myth. Um, so what you get is the fairly standard sort of preamble about what is solo role-playing and what is cut-up solo, how do you cut up, and then uh, there's kind of two ways of using cut-ups. One is interpretive, and the other one is kind of literal. And I explain the difference and then demonstrate it. Now, I also talk about the spreadsheet. So the PDF contains two sets of 1,000 snippets. The This PDF should be accompanied by a spreadsheet with just over 14,000 snippets, nearly 15,000 snippets, and the full 65,000 words of the sort of Nordic myths and legends that are used for creating this. If you don't have the spreadsheet, there is a URL built into the PDF where you can download um, uh, the spreadsheets and the images, which you'll see later. Now, you can with the spreadsheets, you can use the Control F and find option to actually dig into particular words. If you are in a situation where you really want a snippet to relate to a specific thing, rather than maybe editing one and changing a word, you could just search the spreadsheets and then pick from the available snippets that contain that word in the right kind of context. I talk a little bit about how the snippets and the cut up and solo play interacts with the game rules. Um, and I introduce a very basic yes/no answer tool, which is a core for a lot of solo play. Then we get to the examples. Now, this first little three-line, I always call them, they're like mini haiku, but they obviously they don't stick to any rules. Um, that's an interpretive version. And this one reads kind of the household was sitting round, and then a figure behind him he heard. And for me, that's kind of enough for me to imagine, to extrapolate the whole scene. I can imagine this taking place in a sort of Icelandic Viking hut and the family around there, and it's very dark outside. You, um, Maybe a long house, and then behind him he hears this figure, and that's kind of enough. And I can then react to that. I can describe, what my character's actions would be, what their reaction would be, and then as soon as I've done that, I can go back to the snippets. If there were any games rules that came into play, perception rolls or kind of insight or anything like that, I could roll those before then going into the snippets and use the game rules to inform the game. But there's the literal version, um, where you pick out far more snippets. So this is a literal extension of that first three lines, and it starts with the same snippets. The household was sitting round, and then a figure behind him he heard. Robbers, since you, the best swordsmith amongst men, here is a whetstone from his robberies. And so I've expanded that out, and now the figure, we now know that he's some kind of robber or bandit, and he says, that he thinks that I'm the best swordsman amongst men, and he's given me a whetstone that he's stolen. Now, this immediately creates more of an opening for the adventure. Am I the best swordsman amongst men, or is he mistaken? Um, why is he giving me a whetstone? What's special about the whetstone? Who or what did he steal it from? And why is he giving it to me? What does he want in return? So there's a whole bunch more in that. And I've now got a direct NPC that I am interacting with. He's going to expect a response, so I can role play off that. And then again, any rules that come into play and any questions you ask. So this little next section kind of just deals with that, interpreting the answers. There's a little tip about how I actually play on screen. And then we get to these images. Now, the books I was using to draw out the snippets. I actually compared half a dozen kind of anthologies of Norse myth and legends and sagas, and they were all very well illustrated. So I pulled out the public domain images. Now, sorry, yeah, and that just says that you're in the final chapter of the book. You'll find the images. So now we've got the actual snippets, and they're D1000. So roll 3d10. The first one for the tens, second for the first for the hundreds, second for tens, last one for units. Triple zero is 1,000. 001 is one. And if you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard while you select, you can actually take one column um, or the other. And what I generally do is I make one dice roll, and then choose the next five snippets from that point on, which makes it kind of quicker. And you can copy and paste that into a text editor or Words into a Word document, and then you can start mucking about with them. So obviously there's two. It's, it's two D1000 snippets, and then we get to these images, which I was just talking about. Now, all of these are illustrations from the myths and legends, and the use I found for them was if you kind of wanted to imagine what an NPC looked like, you could flick through here and grab an image and say, right, that's the NPC. So you no longer kind of have to just you know drag their appearance out of your imagination. You've got a little picture um, of of that NPC. Now these are copy and pastable, and you could, if you decided that chap there on the balustrade is the NPC, you could copy that into your game notes, crop the image down so you've just got him, and you just have almost like an icon, and so you can give the person a name, and there you go, you've got uh, uh, an image of the NPC. So they're all Fenris the wolf, then the image that I used there was the Ride of the Valkyrie. So that's Hela. Um, so you got the gods in here. Obviously they've illustrated key points of the stories, um, and you can just take the images and use them to as extra inputs that's not come from your imagination, to kind of keep you on track with the genre and the setting. So that's it. Again, it's a 88-page PDF. The first page is the cover, and you got a couple of pages of preamble at the beginning. So yeah, it's all words and pictures. It's the best kind of book. There you go. Thank you for watching.